Today we've got one of my favorite decks for the format. It's pure Runick's. Let's see what we're playing. Alright, getting right into our deck profile here. This is a pure Runick build. It's not going to be anything like with Majesty's Fiend or Vanity's Fiend or anything like that. I've been trying to find other builds to use besides those cards. But I mean, Runick is what it is at this point. It's floodgate heavy. Stall your opponent until you can deck them out, right? That's pretty much the name of the game. So to start us off, we've got 3 Runick Fountain. This is going to be your most important card of the deck. It's going to get your plays started. It's going to help you keep getting more resources. Whenever you activate a Runick Quick Play spell card in the following chain, you can target up to 3 cards in your graveyard, and you're going to put them at the bottom of your deck, and then you're going to draw that many cards. So even if they Dini Crow or something to get rid of some of those cards, you're still going to be drawing whatever's left. Really important card to have. You want to protect this card at all costs. For those of you that don't know, Runick Quick Place cards have 2 effects. One, they all special summon a Runick monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. Very important, so you always have to have an extra monster zone open if you want to be able to summon. And 2, they all have a unique effect, which will include you skipping your next battle phase, and they'll banish a top card of your opponent's deck depending on what the card does. Typically, the better the card, the less it'll banish. That's the general rule for Runick. So we play 3 of the following. Runick Tip, that's your searcher. Runick Flashing Fire, this is going to target and pop a special summon monster your opponent controls. 3 Freezing Curses, this is your monster effect negation. Runick Destruction, this is going to be your spell and trap removal. 3 Runick Slumber, this is going to be your protection. It'll protect any card from destruction once, whether battle or card effect, and then that card can't attack that turn as well. So if you want to stop your opponent from attacking, you can use it on your opponent. If you want to protect your card from being destroyed, you can use it there as well. So that's 3 of each of those. They're really important, really mandatory. You're going to find them at 3 in just about any build. We play 2 Smithing Storm. You play 2 just because you need the extra names. You banish cards from your opponent's deck up to the number of cards they control. It can come in handy if you're going for that deck out and they have a lot of presence on the board. Otherwise, you're really just using it to special summon your extra deck monsters. Runick Dispelling, once again, you need the extra deck names. This one, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase, you can discard 1 random card from their hand and then banish 2 off the top of their deck. Again, this one you need the names. You're typically going to use it for the special summon effect, but it does come in handy when your opponent will search and maybe they only have a few cards in hand. You want to get rid of whatever it is they got. But there is a combo with the Dispelling and Runick Golden Droplet. So what this is going to do, your opponent draws a card, then you're going to banish the top 4 cards of their deck. So it's going to help you get through 5 cards of their deck, including the draw. And then you're going to, in the following chain, you're going to use Runick Dispelling to get rid of a card in their hand and then banish 2 more. So if you're going for that deck out, it does come in handy that way. And that's going to be all the Runick cards that we have. We play 1 Terraforming. Our extra deck monsters can get us to the Runick Field spell card, but if you can get to it without having to go into the monster, that's always a good thing in my opinion. Terraforming, just up to you get to your field spell. You want as many ways to get to it as possible. We play 1 Called by the Grave. Ash is still a thing. Personally, I think Called by the Grave can be at 2. Don't at me for that. We have Bestials and we have other cards that, get rid of cards in Grave. I don't think Called by the Grave will hurt being at 2. But you need it against hand traps, especially for Ash. We play Two, para duality. I only play two because it does restrict you your special summons, and sometimes you need to dig into your deck to find whatever card you need to help you get your plays going, or even get to any of your floodgates. Because again, this is a floodgate heavy deck. You want to be able to stall your opponent as much as possible, and this card helps you do it. And in tangent with that, we play one card of the demise. This card is amazing in this deck. If it was at 2 or 3, it would absolutely be run at 2 or 3 in this deck, almost guaranteed. But it's at 1, so we run it at 1. Once again, it does restrict you on the special summons, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It says draw 3, just like your field spell does, and so why wouldn't you run it? In all your cards you can set, it's not usually a problem to set all your cards to not have to discard them at the end of the turn. We play 2 Dimensional Fissure. Banishing your opponent's cards as much as possible is important, and if they can't play the game, then that means you're doing your job, and this card helps you do it. We only play at 2 because we draw a lot. I have run it at 3 in other builds, and it's okay, but there's been times where it's not the top deck that I needed, and I see it plenty of times at 2. Like I said, we draw enough in the deck, we're going to see it sooner or later. Same thing for our summon limit. Only play at 2. We draw a lot, so we're going to see it at some point. The card's okay, but in the future I'll probably run Goes in a Rivalry or something like that. There was plenty of times where my opponent only summoned twice, or once, because they bricked, and this card was just dead in that sense, and couldn't do anything else to stop my opponent. So we play 2 Soul Drain. I'm debating about running this at 3 because it comes in handy. You activate it by paying 1,000 life points, and monsters that are banished as well as in the grave cannot activate their effects. Cards are very... Yu-Gi-Oh! Today is very grave heavy. Just about anything and everything activates in the grave, so this will stop it. And because you do a lot of banishing, if monsters have effects that activate when they're banished, this will stop it as well. And yes, I'm looking at you, Flu. I always have a hard time playing against that deck, and this card helps me stop them. So even if we're not seeing our Dimensional Fissure to banish our opponent's monsters, and they do go to grave, this card helps me stop them. And one new thing I'm doing for this build is I'm playing hand traps. Again, we draw a lot in this deck, but your draws are only as good as what you draw into, right? So we played 3 Nibiru, the Primal Being. This card was okay, only used it a few times in my last locals match, which got me 2 out of 3 victories. Never used it, maybe once, maybe twice, I don't remember. Not all that impactful, if I'm being honest. I do wish it was a different hand trap. I'm not entirely sure what it would be. Maybe I would use the Bestials, run a 4 package, 2 and 2 with Magma Hunt and Druid Swarm. Haven't figured it out, but I don't think I would run Nibiru again. And then we played 3 Skullmeister. This card came in clutch. Again, very grave heavy game Yu-Gi-Oh! Turned into, and Skullmeister negates anything when it's activated in anything. Yeah, when a card effect is activated in opponent's grave, it'll negate it. So whether it's a spell or trap, monster, whatever it is, this will help you stop it. And this card overperformed, and on top of that, it is a 1700 level 4. It is a beefy boy. So when in doubt, you got some good stats to normal summon too, because you don't normal summon in this deck anyways. All right, moving on into our extra deck here. Got our Majin Vegeta, Primal Being token because Nibiru. So we run 3 Huggin the Runick Wings. This is not only how you search for your field spell. On summon, you discard a card any card, doesn't have to be a Runick card, and you can add the field spell. But this is what you use to protect your field spell 9 out of 10 times, because it has a replacement effect. When your cards, more than one, would be destroyed, you can banish it instead. So if your opponent activates MST, lightning storm, whatever it may be, feather duster, you chain one of your Runick cards to special summon it, and because your card will resolve first, it'll be on field. Your opponent will try to resolve their destruction effect, banish instead, and you keep your back row, you keep your field spell, you keep all your good stuff. We play 3 Munin the Runick Wings. This I'm pretty much just playing for names. This is good to play for in time. At the end of every end phase, you gain 1,000 life points. But this card also has an effect if it's already on the field. If you know your opponent's going to put out a card that targets, if you can put it out before the activated effect and target your effects, you can banish, I believe. Yeah, so you can banish this card and then negate the activation and destroy the card. So it's some good protection. Maybe if you have it, if you know that your opponent's going to have a imperm or something like that. I like using, I like trying to have when I'm playing against my buddy and he plays ABCs, Buster targets, and I like putting that out before he can use it. We play 2 Gary the Runick Fangs. This card I don't go into very often, but he can't be destroyed by card effects. If he is special summoned from the extra deck, you can target 1 non-quick play Runick spell card in your grave. So if your graveyard is full of your Runick field spells, that's one way to get it back. Otherwise, if this is destroyed by battle, you can target the field and destroy it. So you can get some good removal off of it. Only 2 because you don't go into them very often. At least I don't. I much prefer this good boy, and that's Frecky the Runick Fangs. So neither player takes damage from battles involving this card, but on attack declaration with this card, when this card is involved, you can banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And if this card in the field is destroyed by battle card effect, you can target 1 Runick quick play spell in your grave, add it to your hand. So if your opponent, let's say your opponent has a bunch of monsters less than 1900 and one that can beat over it, when they declare an attack, they'll with any card, you'll activate your Runick quick play spell, summon this guy. If they're attacking with a smaller monster, they'll have to stop their replay and attack with their bigger one. And then you, on destruction, you can target a Runick spell that you haven't used that turn, add it to your hand. When they try to attack again, you put out Munin, which is going to have another 2,000 body. So if they can't get over 2,000 body, you kind of save yourself for that turn from attacks. It's a really good play. It'll save you and or help you keep your plays going, depending on what card you bring back, right? So for the last 4 cards, we don't go into too often just because we don't span the board too much, but it can be a possibility, although if you get enough bodies on board somehow. We play Dark the Dark Charmer. Dark monsters, very heavy. Plus the Skullmeisters is dark as well. So IP Masquerena, good level 2 to have. Usually to go into Unicorn if you can make it. For spot removal, Topologic 0/0 Borrows if you can summon it as well, because there's a lot of cards that are going to be banished in this deck. Good card to have if you can put them out. And to top us off here, we're going to take a look at our extra deck. We play 1 Dimensional Fissure and 1 Summon Limit just to have the 3rd copies in case we need them. Dimensional Fissure did come up more than once just because I know I wanted to banish more of my opponent's monsters. Summon Limit again didn't come up too much because the other 2 in the deck didn't work out the way I wanted him to. I had one extra spot, wasn't sure what to use, so I used Pankratops. Almost always your opponent's going to have more monsters than you, so it's a free summon, free either pop or negate. If your opponent has a negate, they're going to want to negate this, otherwise you get rid of something important. We play 3 DD Dynamite. Again, you banish a lot in this deck, and more than once it has come up where this card has inflicted a ton of damage, either to help me go for game or just put some pressure on my opponent. And I like having it. It's fun. It's fun to resolve. It's funny. The opponent really never expects it. We play Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood because we play to time in this deck. Almost always you're going to go into time because game 1, your opponent almost never scoops. They think they can out-resource you, and if you've already got your plays going, they're usually not going to. Game 2, they usually side in some good cards for you, so game 1 usually, in my experience, has gone up to about 30-35 minutes. Game 2, they'll usually set up a board, and I know I'm not going to be able to win. So we play long enough where I know I'm going to be able to side this and use it in time. If I draw into it, amazing. If not, then kind of oh well, then I'm out of luck. Hopefully Runick can get me to that time, increase life points in time and win. Otherwise it stops your opponent from playing, and they're not going to be happy about it. We play 3 Cosmic Cyclones because if you're up against a mirror match and you banish their field spell, they can't stop it, right? They can stop a destruction, they can't stop a banish. Also, anti-spell fragrance is your worst enemy, so if you know your opponent runs anti-spell in the side deck and they're going to side it into you game 2 or 3, more ways to get rid of it, plus any other problematic back rows that you can think of. And last but not least, we play 3 Lava Golem. It's just good spot removal. It uses up your normal summon, but it counts as a special summon, so you can use your Flashing Fire, I believe, to get rid of it. Going into time, if you really want to give it to your opponent, it'll inflict 3,000, so long as you can, stop their damage. It's good spot removal. It's just a really good card right now. I try to run it in almost all my decks if I can. Well, that's our deck profile for today. Like I said, Runick has quickly become one of my favorite decks to play in this format. It's just so versatile. It definitely gives you a different win con. Something that I'm truly enjoying. It is Stallgate City, floodgate after floodgate, so your opponent might not have too much fun, but hey, as long as you're enjoying the game, that's all that matters, right? Go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know, do you play any Runicks? What version do you play? There's so many versions, this engine's so splashable, so many different things that we can try with it, and I want to keep exploring more. So let me know, what do you play? If you like the deck profile, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps support me, lets me know you want to see more of it, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date for more videos. And if you want to see just how many packs we won because of this deck, go ahead and hit the next video because we're going to go into our OTS openings for December. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.